Then you can start.
Yeah, appeared already. Trinath bhai, go ahead.
Yeah, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. So thank you for joining session today. I think it's a great it's a great honor to be see you everyone. So including today's host, Mr. Kumar, like Kiran Kumar, and uh, and I see like a high number of participants today, which is 70, I think nearly 72. So thank you for joining everyone. Taking your time. So I hope you everyone are staying safe. So welcome to our 11th webinar. Basically, PWD has conducted 10 webinars on different topics like blogging and accessibility testing and corporate jobs in such a way. The 11th webinar is on national education. So we are very glad to have you, Mr. Mr. Kiran Kumar. So thank you for joining. So the second thing I would like to tell you a couple of things, which is so when you join, please make sure you guys are joining with your own names. And if you have any questions at the end of this session, after the speaker's speech is finished, please make sure you guys are raising your hand. Followed by that, you can also chat your question on the chat box. And we are also live on YouTube, which is www.youtube.com/dpwd. Please go ahead and subscribe to our channel to receive daily updates as soon as we post any video. So now I'd like to pass on the ball to Sai, who is my in fact a friend, who is gonna introduce our today's speaker. So Sai, over to you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Srinath. Uh, Good afternoon / little bit good evening, everybody. Education is the manifestation of perfection already existing in man. Swami Vivekananda. I take this opportunity to introduce to you all uh, Mr. Gaud Kiran Kumar. Before I dive into his little introduction, I would like to recall a small proverb from the scripture. It says, wisdom is better than rubies. Nothing can be compared with it. It's true to all of us. Nothing can be compared with wisdom. Over a period of time, Mr. Kiran Kumar Garu has accumulated wonderful knowledge in various aspects concerning his area of interest. He holds bachelor's degree in business administration from Geetham Institute of Management, Visakhapatnam. He holds master's degrees in sociology from Indira Gandhi National Open University. He holds full-time master's degree in political science from prestigious University of Hyderabad. He also holds distance learning degrees in human rights, e-governance, etc. Currently, he is pursuing postdoctoral in network governance and public distribution under the supervision of Professor I. Ramabrahmam, who is currently serving as a Vice Chancellor to the Central University of Odisha. I am so glad and happy and joy to welcome Mr. Kiran Kumar Gaud on this platform to deliver on National Education Policy 2020, which was approved by the Central Cabinet, chaired by the Honorable Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi ji. This policy is made by Sri Kasturi Rangan Garu, and the policy contains various aspects from pre-preparatory school to higher education and research, so on. Mr. Kiran Kumar Garu submitted his various papers, both nationally and internationally, on various platforms. He's a prestigious member of International Political Association, Indian Political Association, International Public Policy Association. Recently, he represented India in the International Public Policy Institute, Singapore, and went to Toronto, Canada to present his papers. His research area includes food security, inclusive education, higher education, public distribution, e-governance, etc. Guys, this is just a tip of the iceberg to introduce about him. His resume goes on to say many things. So, without further ado, I will pass on the microphone to Mr. Kiran Kumar Gaudgaru to grace this session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sai, for your introduction, and I feel a little bit privileged to be here, and also cautious about what I speak today. And Sai was my master's batchmate, and he's also my friend. I think it's long back, 2013 and 15, we completed our masters, and now he's in I think bank, working as an assistant manager. And I also thank DPWD for giving this opportunity. So without wasting time, I will, as a policy, as a student of public policy, governance, and public administration, I just want to see this policy in terms of policy only, but not I will not touch much controversial issues or politics behind this policy. So I will be confining myself to the basic, the various recommendations of draft committee, and which was approved by cabinet, and what are the various policy inputs they gave, and what are the issues. Maybe we can also touch some of the issues. Basically, this this policy, national education policy, can be divided into two parts. This presentation will be divided into two parts. One part is I will be concentrating on school education, and second part will be on higher education. So, and apart from that, we can also look at various other aspects like regulatory framework, what actually they wanted to change the regulatory framework of higher education. And some of the other issues, the inclusive issue and the framework issues and other things also we can also, I will also touch on these issues. So before going into the this national education policy, the policy actually as a policy, if you look at it, if you look at to compare the GDP spending on education we can actually, according to this World Bank statistics, we are spending around 3.8 of our GDP on education. Or both, I mean both primary, secondary education, and also higher education. So altogether, if you look at it, it is around 3.8% of entire GDP we are spending on education, whereas some of the emerging countries like US is spending around 5% of its GDP. Germany around 4.8, UK around 5.5, France around 5.7, and Russia is slightly lower than us, with 3.7. If you look at Cuba, Cuba is spending around 12% of its of our GDP on education institutions, on education. So the basic, maybe the if you quantify our the aim of this national education policy is to achieve 6% spending GDP spending on education. So, and the timeline, if you look at it, they wanted to start it, already it's approved. By 2040, they wanted to achieve some of the major goals of this education policy. So before touching the basic issues of school education, I just wanted to give some fundamental principles of the policy. So, recognizing, identifying, and fostering the unique capabilities of each student by sensitizing teachers as well as parents to promote each student's holistic development in both academic and non-academic sphere. Non-academic sphere is all about the sports and other co-curricular activities. The highest priority is to achieve foundational literacy and numeracy by students. Actually, in fact, in the by grade 3, that is by third class, they must have some at least basic understanding of literacy and numeracy. Because if you can see some of the reports by NGOs and other civil society organizations, our students, our children who are pursuing their class 3 or class 4 or class 5 are unable to even even answer some of the small multiplications or subtractions or other basic issues. Even they are unable to identify letters. So when these kind of issues are coming up, there should be a strong foundational basis for the students, for the foundational base for in terms of literacy and numeracy in the early stages of children. So that is one of the I can say one of the highest priority they wanted to give on this foundational literacy and numeracy. Flexibility is the other area they wanted to see it, so that learners have the ability to choose their learning trajectories and programs, and thereby choose their own paths in the life according to their talent and interest. This part, flexibility part, we can look at higher education level, where there is an exit option and internship plus education option and different kinds of flexibility options they have given. And there is no hard separation of arts and sciences. They actually wanted to bring out a multidisciplinary approach, as I mentioned, and also curricular and extracurricular, give importance to curricular and extracurricular activities, and vocational and academic streams. And this is the kind of, there is no hard separation of this is sciences group and we have to yes, BSc for sciences, only science subjects, or BA only arts subjects or something like that. There is no such hard and fast rule that the policy wanted to actually in fact concentrate on. And they also wanted to emphasize on the conceptual understanding rather than routine a kind of learning for exams kind of stuff. So they wanted to make the policy aimed at the conceptual to develop and emphasize on conceptual development of student. And they also emphasized on creativity and critical thinking. And they also touched on the ethics and human and constitutional values like empathy, respect for others, cleanliness, courtesy, democratic spirit, spirit of service, respect for public property, scientific temper, liberty, responsibility, pluralism, equality, and justice. These are the broader constitutional values they wanted to achieve, and these values, whatever the constitutional and ethical values are there, they wanted to impart from the childhood onwards. So it's there, but they wanted to emphasize on these values. And yeah, another important aspect of the policy, it is also debatable in the various forums. It's regarding the promoting multilingualism and the power of language in teaching and learning. So they wanted to promote different languages on one side. That is, they actually wanted to include the learning up to fifth class. They wanted to have what we call it as in a local language or in his mother tongue. So that is what that emphasizes. That is an area where there are debates going on. I will also touch on this area. And life skills, again, they wanted to concentrate on some of the life skills and vocational skills along with education aspects. And these are the different maybe respect for diversity and respect for the local context, full equity and inclusion of different sections of the society. And I will also touch how the social composition of inclusion, and also how PWD students are being touched in this, are being given some priority or some allocation or some suggestions are being given in this document on development of textbooks, special textbooks, development of special assistant, technological assistance, certain aspects also they touched in the document. And another part of it is the synergy in curriculum across all levels of education, from early childhood care and education to school education to higher education. And teachers and faculty as the art of the learning process, their recruitment issues, professional development, positive working environment, and service conditions, everything they have documented in the in national education policy. A light but tight regulatory framework is the other important aspect of it. Light but tight, because it's we have so many regulators working in this education field. They wanted to bring all regulatory institutions under one umbrella, especially in higher education. So, in order to ensure the integrity, transparency, and resource efficiency of the educational systems through audit and public disclosure, while encouraging innovation and out-of-the-box ideas through autonomy, good governance, and empowerment. These are the related to these aspects are related to regulatory framework. And research, especially research, if you take research also, they touched on having an institutional framework for boosting up the research. They also compared certain governments, how certain countries are spending on research, and how our country is spending, and how to make the research intensification in the country. So this is the other aspects they also touch. And any policy which is very important is the review. Policy review is also very important. So regular policy reviews and assessment are also included in this document. So this is one kind of if you are not satisfied under certain areas, then the review process will go on, and some other recommendations also can come up. So and finally, the important component of this document is the investment, substantial investment for this funding this policy. How by 2040 they wanted to achieve different different objectives of this policy. The important point is they wanted to spend 6% of the GDP on achieving on the education system, on education government wanted to spend 6% of GDP. So our from current level of 3.8 to around 3.84 to 6% of spending, GDP spending. So these are the basic, maybe broader objectives we can say of this document. Let me now go into the actual part of school education. This document is divided into certain parts. Part 1 is school education, part 2 is higher education, part 3 is professional education, adult education, lifelong learning, Indian languages, arts and culture, technology use and integration, online education and digital education comes under the part 3. Part 4 is all about making it happen. So the strengthening of the Central Advisory Board of Education, financing, quality of affordable and quality education for all. So how we can finance it, and implementation of this policy. So basically 4 parts. Part 1 is school education, part 2 is higher education, part 3 is other forms of other areas of education like professional, online, Indian language, arts and culture, technology use and integration. These are the different aspects of part 3. And part 4 is about strengthening of Central Advisory Board and Education, how financing this document and financing this policy, and how they can implement it. So this is how the national education policy is being divided. So previously we had policies. We had national policy on education in national education policy in 1968, Kothari Commission, we can say, and national policy on education. National policy on education under Kothari Commission. We also call it as Kothari Commission in 1968, and we had policy in 1986 under Indira Gandhi and Rajiv Gandhi, and they are slightly modified in 1992, and now we have policy, national education policy. We can say that this is the third policy in the line, and in between we also had important act, we can say, that is famous act, the Right of Children to Free and Compulsory Education Act 2009, which actually inserted the right to education as one of the fundamental right under 21A. So keeping all these frameworks in mind, we have, I'm not going to in details of these plans, of these policies, previous policies. It's already there in the website, so you can go into this. Especially these are the different policies we had. And the major change in the school education is till now we had a 10+2 policy. That means 6 to 16 years age, up to 10th class. Then we will go into the +2. That is, we call it intermediate or +1, +2 in other forms in other states, between 16 and 18. This is the school education part, and we had 3 years bachelor's, 3 or 4 years bachelor's, and MA is for 2 years, and we in between PhD and MA we normally have MPhil and then PhD. That is the previous structure. Now actually they wanted to convert this 10+2 into 5+3+3+4. So basically this first 5 years, we can say 5 years, then 3+3+4. These first 5 years, they actually wanted to have first 5 years can be again divided into foundational. This is actually the foundational level. It is divided into two parts. 3 years, that is 3 to 6 years. In preschooling, we can say, and 2 years, that is first and second class, 6 to 8 years. So by the level, if you reach at this level, by 5 years of your primary education, you should be sound before reaching your third class, class 3. You should be having this strong foundational level. So your numeracy and your literary part should be strong. You should at least identify the things, do some basic calculations. You should have that basic level of foundation. That is the foundation level. So class 3 to 5, it's age between 8 to 11. This is preparatory, they call it as, and middle level they call that another 3 years, 6 to 8 years is the middle level, and secondary level from 9 to 12 years. So this is a kind of structure they wanted to implement in the school education. So 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. So this is where covering this covers around 3 to 18 years. Normally the act says 3 to 16. 16 is the limit, and I think they may also change the act. So this 3 to 18 years, they wanted to make it as as school education. So this is a major, we can say, structural change in Indian schooling system. Currently, children in the age group of 3 to 6 are not covered in the 10+2 structure, as class 1 begins at the age of 6. Normally, though we have Anganwadi system and other things, so normally the schooling in maybe the rural areas normally starts with 4th, 5th, or 6th year. In the new system, they included early childhood care and education (ECCE) into the domain of this entire structure, and they wanted to strengthen this early childhood care and education. So that is the where children's foundational level actually laid on. So that is very important here. The important structural change that this policy wanted to bring. So as I mentioned, numeracy and other parts, numeracy and literacy is very important in this structure. And foundation level of foundational teaching, they wanted to strengthen. Actually, in fact, the training of teachers and other things, they wanted to give it to students. Another important thing they wanted to concentrate on is curtailing the dropout rates and ensuring universal access to education at all levels, different levels. So dropout rates, again, if you take, is very high. Dropout rates for grade 6 to 8 was 90.9%. It's very high. While the grade 9 to 10 and 11 to 12, it was only the gross enrollment ratio for grade 6 to 8 it was 90.9%, whereas the GER, if you come at GER for grade 9 to 10 and 11 to 12, it was only 79.3%, and if it reach to the level of 10+2, it is actually 56.5%. So we are losing around around half of these students, and they are not actually completing the 10th or 12th class. So this is a major setback for the education system. So they wanted to increase this gross enrollment ratio up to 12th. So that is also a very important aspect of this document. Actually, by 2030, wanted to achieve the goal of 100% gross enrollment ratio. So just to remember, just to inform you all, we have sustainable development goals. Goal number 4 actually, SDG 4 actually provides is all about quality education. So in fact, there is also some kind of maybe synchronous understanding, synchronous aspects between this SDG 4 and our national education policy, because some of the important aspects of, because I just wanted to touch this SDG 4 quality education to give a kind of understanding to all of you how these goals are actually we can interlink between the greater goals of SDGs. So quality education again have certain aspects. Quality education, actually UNDP comes up with SDGs, as you all know, and and under that SDG 4, we also, so SDGs broader goals. We also have sub goals. So sub goals, under that, inclusive education is one of the important sub goal they wanted to achieve by 2030. So even our document, we also wanted to achieve the gross enrollment ratio by 2030. So there is a kind of synchrony between these SDGs and the goal and the national education policy. So SDGs actually say aims at ensuring that all the girls and boys complete free, equitable, and quality primary and secondary education, leading to relevant leading to relevant, and goal number 4, effective learning outcomes will be based on this, and ensure that all there is a equity between the girls and boys education also. That is what goal number 4 of SDG also says on. There are gender equality, human rights aspects, lifestyle aspects, and promotion of a culture of peace and non-violence, global citizenship. These are the different aspects they covered into the in ensuring the quality education, ensuring inclusive and equitable quality education, and promoting lifelong learning opportunities for all. This is what goal number 4 is aimed at. Uh, uh, these aspects, if you look at GR especially, so there is synchrony between different aspects, different synchrony between SDGs and this policy. So they also emphasized on curriculum and pedagogy in the schools. Actually the learning should be holistic, integrated, enjoyable, and engaging. So they wanted to bring, and they wanted to reduce the burden of maybe burden of syllabus or learning, and make it as a learning opportunity, or holistic learning, or learning with joy, learning with engaging the things, based on engaging and participating and learning. So they wanted to emphasize on these aspects. So the pedagogy, curriculum and pedagogy is again going to change the school system. It's not based on book knowledge. They wanted to make it as flexible, multi-level, play activity based learning, instead of book-based, bookish learning. So these are the aspects. Pedagogy also concentrate on different aspects: reading aspect, writing aspect, speaking aspect, physical education, arts, language, science, and mathematics. So they wanted to emphasize on these aspects. So and coming to the language part, up to fifth year, so up to fifth class, they wanted to implement language. They wanted to implement the mother tongue as a source of source for teaching purpose. But we do have issues with this recommendation. Some of the governments also opposing, because there are some issues with tribal language, some issues with the dialects will change from one place to other place, right? Each district we have a dialectical change. If you take, for example, Andhra Pradesh, three districts in northern coastal districts, Srikakulam, Vijayanagaram, and Visakhapatnam, if you compare their dialects, there is change in between these dialects only. And if you take this with Rayalaseema, or with Guntur and coastal district of districts like Guntur and Vijayawada, there is a lot of changes. So these dialects only will change every district level. And we have tribal language, tribal parts. We do have tribal parts, and teaching them in the local language is again a problematic area. So this language part, I feel that there should be some clarity on thing, because they are comparing when Chinese are teaching in Madrid, when Germans are teaching in Germany. In Germany, they are teaching in their own language. In France, they are teaching in French. Japan, they are teaching in the Japanese language. Why can't India opt these policy of teaching our own, encouraging our own language and teaching them in our own language? So this is a major issue, we can say. So there is also attempts to actually bring the Sanskrit back into the system, because the Sanskrit, they actually bring Sanskrit in the education school, in the schooling level also. So this is again some again it Sanskrit, they in fact call it as Sanskrit knowledge systems. They wanted to develop in the system, in the document itself. So this actually again there are issues going on. Why Sanskrit? Why not Tamil in Tamil Nadu? Will concentrate on that. Why can't North Indians learn one of the language of South Indians? So these are the different the politics behind language, we can say. Imposition of language is going on. So with this, the document as a policy level, they wanted to implement mother tongue as a medium of instruction at the schooling level. So curriculum also they wanted to change. You can see they wanted to bring out a national curriculum framework for school education. The formulation of a new and comprehensive national curriculum framework for school education will undertaken by the NCERT. Based on the principle of this national education policy, frontline curriculum needs, and after discussion with all the stakeholders, they wanted to bring out this national curriculum framework and national textbooks with local content and flavor. So they wanted to bring again local language textbooks. Central government itself wanted to bring local textbooks in a local language. Maybe the NCERTs, whatever we are reading, maybe most of you, many of you are preparing for civil services, NCERT and other things. They wanted to bring NCERTs in the local languages also. That is again, there are issues again with this. But some of the, they also touch certain parts like the conducting examinations in the local language, because now the National Testing Agency, if you take the NET or civil services examination, everything will be, prelims will be either in English or Hindi. But my net exam also, it's easy for Hindi medium people to solve certain aspects who are having the vernacular language as Hindi. So if you are from maybe the other part of the country, like if you are from Tamil Nadu, or if you are from Andhra Pradesh or Telangana, if you are schooling done in Telugu, so this kind of issues they are coming up. We have to depend on English questions, whereas Hindi as a language, they have the advantage. So they wanted to change this policy also. National Testing Agency, they also mentioned certain aspects. And overall development of exams, and they also proposed setting up of a national assessment center, performance assessment, review and analysis, and knowledge for holistic development. Parak, they call it as a standard of setting national assessment center. And so they also mentioned about support for gifted students with special talents. Like some students will have music, dance, performance as their hobby, chess, poetry, or some other aspects. they also wanted to implement, encourage this kind of things, and in fact they also wanted to bring out some sports clubs, eco clubs, well-being club, yoga clubs. These are the clubs they also mentioned in the clubs and circles. They mentioned as one of the major point in the support for gifted students and students with special talents. And if you come to teachers training and other things, they also wanted to change their structure, the way of training the teachers is also they wanted to change. So these are the major you can see aspects of school education. So coming to higher education, the major issue that is in debate is regarding the removal of MPhil degree. So there are issues with MPhil degree. There are issues with the removing of MPhil degree, because MPhil degree will be a kind of bridge between the master's degree and PhD degree. But they wanted to remove this, and they wanted to have change the structure also. They proposed 4 years degree, in fact, and the degrees also is not. It's not what I can say. It's not rigid, or it's not a specialized degree. They are not concentrating on this kind of things. They wanted to bring out a flexibility in your approach of pursuing your higher education. So they have come up with different aspects of the structure. If you want to exit, that exit option is also there. If you want to exit from first year, you will get a certificate. Second year, you will get diploma. Third year, you will get degree. Fourth year, you will get honors degree. They actually wanted to have a 1 year masters and reduce the timing between timing for the higher PhDs. So these are the even after your engineering or professional courses of 4 years, they are also working out on pursuing a PhD directly, skipping the things, skipping a year. So they're also looking at integrated courses, integrated masters, 5 years masters. They're also looking at it. If you do fourth, fifth year, you will get the master's degree. So integrated courses also in their domain. So in their sessions, they mentioned. And and they wanted to integrate the humanities and arts with STEM courses, so science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. These are the STEM courses. Actually, they wanted to bring mostly now BTech students are now they have the option of opting political science, sociology, or other aspects, humanities, or languages, literature. So other things also they can get the degree, credits, and use that credits in their degree to get the degree. So so these are the higher education. If you look at it, these are the structural changes they wanted to bring, and they wanted actually they don't want to um, go regulatory part, especially the regulatory part. If you touch at the regulatory part, they wanted to bring the 4 independent verticals under Higher Education Commission of India. First one is National Higher Education Regulatory Council, that covers the general teachers, maybe different kinds of education purpose. A move if put into action early facilities better response to the emerging needs of this domain. The National Higher Education Regulatory Council. Now the UGC, AICTE, all these things may come under this National Higher Education Regulatory Council. Instead of NAC, National Accreditation Council is being visualized to introduce the system of transparency in the transparency. and accreditation. Now, whatever the body is giving the accreditation, now the NAC will be taking charge of it. The Higher Education Grant Council, all kinds of financing education projects or different aspects. The Education Grant Council is being set up. And General Education Council, which is going to be entrusted with the responsibility of evolving guidelines for measuring the learning outcomes, will facilitate setting up a national higher education council, qualification framework, a move that paves the way for augmenting quality of in graduating students. So General Education Council will be at this level. So under National Higher Education Regulatory Council, Higher Education Commission of India is a higher body. Under the 4 verticals: National Higher Education Regulatory Council, National Accreditation Council, General Education Council, and Higher Education Grants Council. So these are the different structural changes, regulatory structural changes. We can look at it. So, and other major governance reform in this national policy on education 2020 is the removal of multiple nomenclatures used in describing higher education institutions. Like we have the different nomenclature: deemed, affiliating, unitary, affiliated colleges, and different kinds of things. So technical universities, as now they are come under one thing, that is universities, they may call it as. There is no nomenclatures, different kinds of nomenclatures. And again, important thing is they also wanted to develop research-based, research-oriented universities, and normal universities which give education, professional education. So research and the multidisciplinary aspect, multidisciplinary research is also one of the key aspect of this policy. One of the, again, maybe contested or critical aspects of this policy is allowing foreign universities in India. So that is what, again, foreign universities now, they can open their centers here, they can provide education. But the problem is the quality issues, or the social composition of this university, or of these students of these universities may impact. May these universities might become a elitist universities on one side. On other side, the entire question of reservations and inclusion, all these things also come up with this. Maybe there is, and there is a silver line between public universities and private universities are also becoming thin. So that is again one of the issues. The issue of autonomy is again a problematic area. So apart from that, that interdisciplinary approach, well, that is what mentioned in the document itself, and the change in the regulatory thing. Actually, there is a critique that everything is becoming centralized. Regulatory now, even in the document, the regulatory is becoming so much centralized, bringing everything under the one umbrella. But how best they can decentralize the things, how best they can go and decentralize and reduce the red tapeism, reduce the bureaucratic delays, and speedy approvals of different aspects, or these are the different aspects they have to work on. Maybe there are subcommittees, they may work on this kind of issues. So one, again, the major challenge of this document is are these regulatory institutions, different regulatory institutions combining together and bringing under one regulatory umbrella, under one umbrella. Is it going to make the higher education so rigid, or higher education regulatory system so rigid, or this step will go in other direction. That means reducing the red tapeism, speedy approvals, approving the multidisciplinary projects, and different other things. That is maybe the time will decide about this. So that policy also also aim to establish a multidisciplinary institution covering 3,000 in every district, like every district by 2040. Surely enhance the gross enrollment ratio to 50%. Normally, if you take Andhra Pradesh, now it is Andhra Pradesh or erstwhile Andhra Pradesh, they wanted to have a university in each district. So now it's multidisciplinary institutions are now coming up in different districts. So another important aspect of this document is zones, educational zones. They wanted to like economic zones. They wanted to come up with educational zones. So again, I'm just comparing this economic zones and the educational zones. It's not it's educational zones in wherever the enrollment ratio is less, so wherever there is access to education, higher education is comparatively less, are tribal areas where we wanted to develop education zones. They call it the education zones in different parts of the country. So special education zones, they call it as. That is also they wanted to come up with, and they are also drafting. We have to wait till the different aspect of the educational zones, special education zones will come up. So what these special education zones is nothing but the additional Jawahar Navodaya Vidyalaya or Kendriya Vidyalayas will be built across the country, especially in this aspirational districts. Aspirational districts, I said, where is tribal areas, where the educational enrollment ratio is less, where there are less access to the education. So there we wanted to build this special education zones. These are aimed at high quality education opportunity, preschooling sections also can be developed here. So this is most of the components of higher education. So these are the different parts of the higher education in the document. As I mentioned, regulatory thing, the change in the degree, obtaining degree, and you can do some kind of internships and learn. And the other major aspect is technology. Now we are coming up with, especially during this pandemic, as actually thrown a very important challenge for the country regarding this education, intensifying what is the how we can deliver the things. So one option they have looked at is, and maybe the major option I can say, is through technological tools, technological equipments, by leveraging the technology, they wanted to deliver the education. So the MOOCs, Indian MOOCs, Swayam is the one platform they developed already. They developed. We have EPG Pathshala. We have either forms, non-government forms, other non-government MOOC providing institutions also there. Commonwealth Learning is the one institution that is providing. So education, leveraging, even they wanted to go for whatever the foundational courses through these MOOCs, massive open online courses. So now it's a blend of online learning and offline learning. So that is where the new education policy also emphasizing on to actually go for MOOCs and go for online education, digital through the digital mediums. So and now many of the NITs, IITs also keeping their education policies, their courses on on uh, on their websites. So and they also wanted to use these disruptive technologies, artificial intelligence, machine learning, other forms things. They wanted to also implement, concentrate on these aspects. So they also developed Disha for schooling, national the open schooling systems. These bodies are now uploading. NCRT also uploading on Diksha platform. So they may also come up with online education, delivering of online education through these digital platforms. So, but again, the major aspect of this is the developing of digital infrastructure in India. Are we equipped with this? Are we ready for this digital way of learning? So we have, because we have a huge digital gap in the country. We have the connectivity issue. We have issues of reliability. We have issues of digital equipments. Many of our students, many of the students are from marginalized community, maybe from PWD category, or from maybe tribal areas, interior areas, even in urban slums, where we don't have such mechanisms. So there is a need for improving this digital infrastructure in the country. So that is where even government should concentrate on developing the digital infrastructure before going on online. So they also mentioned certain issues of digital divide, addressing how they can address the digital divide, but it's not very vast, but it's okay. So virtual labs, as I mentioned, e-learning platforms like Diksha, Swayam Prabha. So these are the things they have, and the financing part is again, we can say the document itself said, the document says both center and the states. World Bank data is I think mostly on state, center. Now, according to this document, the center and states are spending around 4.43% of their GDP. Now they wanted to spend more, 6% of the GDP, as I mentioned. So, so these are the different, maybe the provisions in the document. They actually wanted to areas, the financing part, if you take, they wanted to finance different aspects like universal provision of quality early childhood care education, that is ECCE, ensuring foundational literacy and numeracy, providing adequate and appropriate resources for schools, complexes, clusters, providing food and nutrition, breakfast and midday meals for the students, for the children, investing in the teachers' education and continuous professional development of teachers, revamping colleges and universities to foster excellence, cultivating research, extensive use of technology and online education. For this, we need different finances. So they are again exploring various options for spending this spend to increase the spending on these aspects. So they wanted to bring one again national research foundation, which is again a kind of uniqueness of the document, we can say. So that National Research Foundation, they wanted to establish it under at the center level, and they actually says in the document itself, they mentioned that India is spending on research and innovation investment is around 0.69%, whereas if you compare it with other countries, 2.8 in United States, of America, 4.3% in Israel, 4.2% in South Korea. So we need to gear up. So that's the reason they wanted to come up with National Research Foundation at the center level. So they also look at how the funding can be done, fellowship can be given, all these kind of things. So so this is all about the document. So I will spend and it's around 4:10. So I think I'm speaking more and let's go for some interaction. Then we can touch other parts of the document. So I'm just as a policy student, I'm just understanding this policy as this policy as a policy, but there are issues with this policy. Every policy will have its own issues, major issues. Maybe certain aspects are very major for certain people and certain aspects are very minor for certain people. The ruling class may see at this document as a very unique document, very inclusive document because the committee, the draft committee has worked extensively in collecting different opinions, recommendations, approaches. They said that one level, 2 lakhs letters and recommendations they have received and they worked on it. At the same time, the other side, we have issues that are being continuously raised by certain sections of the academicians, certain sections of academics, certain sections of opponent parties, and also the states also certain states like Tamil Nadu have already expressed already expressed certain dissent on issues of language. So there are contested, but this document is a very extensive. Don't confine to one area to criticize this document. Look to critically look at the other parts of the document. One problem is with so we are stucking up with one part that may be the language, that may be the Sanskrit or other things, and neglecting the other part. Or second important maybe the drawback of certain parts is looking entire document in a critical way. So we cannot look at this document because certain aspects are very good, certain recommendation made by the committee are very genuine. Like for example, spending 6% spending, the financial part, how to achieve it, gross enrollment ratio, increasing the gross enrollment ratio, and special educational zones, intensifying, reducing the burden on students and exploring, giving the opportunity for them to explore various options, multidisciplinary approach. So these are the aspects we have to look at it, and obviously there are issues we can discuss it further. But as a positive, uh, as a person with certain positive aspects, so I'm looking at this document as in a positive way, and I hope this document will be useful for achieving this inclusive, equitable education. So with this note, I open this session for maybe questions or maybe questions, comments, or anything.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you so much for the valuable information. Now, I request everyone, if you are interested to ask the question, please raise your hand. Then only I will allow you to unmute yourself.
So
Or
can you
you
guys
can
hear
also
me?
comment in the chat box.
Yeah. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, guys, please make sure you guys are raising your hand, or you can even comment in the chat box, or you can even who are on the live YouTube, they can comment on their YouTube chat box. So We'll see. Start asking you questions, guys.
Yeah, there is a question in chat box. This policy effective in this year.
Pardon me?
This
This
policy will
policies.
affect.
Oh,
Effective.
maybe. Yeah, they actually the timeline. They yeah, as obviously when cabinet approves it, this document, some of the government will start implementing certain aspects of this document. But certain recommendations like removing of PhDs or implementing this policy are different. Maybe the schooling system, changing the structure of the schooling, changing the books, content of the books, or reframing the names and the different aspects that may take some time. But as cabinet approves it, I think this document there may be some discussion in parliament also. Then they may start implementing certain things.
Okay. So, any more questions in the chat box?
Actually, there are no questions. Are there any questions in YouTube, Sham? Yeah.
There are some questions coming up. There's some.
So there is one guy raised your hand, Channavira. I asked you to unmute, make yourself unmute and ask the questions.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening.
This is Channavira from Karnataka.
Okay.
So this act, when will get implemented, sir? When will get it will implement, sir? And
No,
another question. One second. Another question. Second question is, if they include all the subjects in a one umbrella, so is it possible? To implement all the subject in a one area, like in one stream, like political science, history, and mathematics, physics, biology? So it will. Is it possible to implement in our country?
Okay. So the first question, as you asked, as the policy is being approved by, this is a policy. Policy is normally the executive will do it, the permanent executive, that is the central government, will do it. As they are approved and approved by the cabinet, and even more, Prime Minister has made public statements yesterday. So the policy, this is not a like within 1 year or 2 years we can achieve this policy. The important aspect of any policy is down the 5 years or 10 years, how much you can do it. You can compare the goals, objectives, quantify it, and compare it after the implementation. So the policy will take some time to get it implemented on paper. Maybe converting from on paper to the ground, it will take some time. But they have these timelines like 2035. They wanted to achieve gross enrollment ratio, achieve this 100% gross enrollment ratio in school education, and increase, they reduce the dropout rates. So these are the aspects they are coming up with. And 2030, they wanted to make certain objectives also in 2030. So I can say by the entire the government's intention is the major objectives. They are actually planning for achieving it by 2040. So it's a very long project, I can say, policy we can say. 20 years they wanted to achieve whatever the important aspects are there. So second point is all about so this multidisciplinary level. So your question is how political science or some other subject of arts or humanities or mathematics will come together. So they are not saying complete. They are actually you are flexible to opt certain other options, like we already have in NITs, IITs. You can opt to certain subjects, certain courses in other aspects, other areas of education. So how best you can combine it is very important. Like if you are doing your masters or bachelor's in political science, and if you wanted to do some statistics or mathematics into this thing, political science, if we are having political science as an object major course, and opt to certain other courses, minor courses of mathematics and statistics, how that will help your subject. Like you can use this statistical learning, whatever you learn in the statistics, you can implement in the political science, like empirical research and other aspects. Similarly, in other way, BTech
So
students have,
Balaji, so
yeah,
so
yeah, go on.
Balaji's have raised their hand. So Balaji, I asked you to mute.
Hey, I'm Balaji from Tirupati, Hyderabad.
Okay.
Uh, After implementation of this policy, can visually impaired, blind students study engineering subjects like BTech like that?
So I just forgot to touch on this point. Actually, in the document, persons with disability, they mentioned at certain parts, maybe 3-4 parts, they they actually touched upon. One part is on education, developing the text. All the text should be on par, text should be uh, in different formats, so that will be accessible to students from persons with disability. So, and the in the policy itself, they said the rights of the Persons with Disability Act 2016, whatever the broader principles that are mentioned in it, they will take upon, they will work on it, and they will work for the inclusive education. And also technology part, developing different technologies, developing different technologies for persons with disability. So they are coming up with using the technology for delivering to the students. So your question is regarding can PWD students can pursue the engineering courses? Obviously, the answer is somewhat yes, because computer courses, or maybe computer sciences, electronics, different areas, wherever you are. So you are now they are emphasizing on artificial intelligence and other parts of things. So where there are opportunities for the students from PWD to pursue these courses. So yes, the policy is pro for including this kind of aspects.
Hey, one more question.
Thank you, Balaji. Yes, and
Can I
okay.
ask one more? Hey,
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
actually, in testing of the exam, see, in like IBPS banking exams, they will conduct by IBPS, right? They won't use like JAS or NVDA assistive technologies. Why? They only use Scribe. It is better to use JAS or assistive technology to measure the uh, candidate ability.
Yeah, that maybe I am unaware. Even even in the document, they actually they are also maybe this technological part. They are also silent. But one thing they are working out. They are, as you can also see in the document, they are forming now the subcommittees of different levels. So they wanted to go for comprehensive uh, uh, recommendations for implementations. Maybe maybe the subcommittees may work on on this kind of issues. One maybe suggestion for you all is whatever maybe the suggestions or your request, you can definitely keep it and send it to the ministry. Then I hope maybe they may positively respond and consider all these technical aspects. So these are the very important and major aspects. So you can also write it to them. But this document, whatever question you asked, this document is not is maybe silent on this kind of things.
Thank you, Balaji. And I see Baba S, and I'm requesting to unmute. Go ahead and ask the question.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello, sir. Kiran, sir. I'm Saravanan from Bangalore.
Okay.
Sir, then when this policy come to effort, then there will be a centralized exam in 5th standard, 8th standard, and 11th standard, like that, sir. Is it so?
A center, yeah, they may, yeah, this is very important aspect. There is no, they did not mention about anything about the detention, but they wanted to test at this level. So when you are tested 10 plus 2, 10th is a very important area. But they wanted to test at your 5th class. So you should have so you should be sound with, as I mentioned, numerics and other parts. You should be sound with this, and they may be testing at this level. But as frankly speaking, this is again a very important issue. Detention policy. They are not. They did not mention anything about detention. If you are failing in 5th class, you will be sitting in the 5th class. So no, I don't think so. But some or other testings, tests, examination, they will definitely conduct at the 5th year. Similarly, at the 8th class, again at 12th class. So
then if is that the case, means then the drop down cases may, there is now till 8th standard there will not be any drop down cases. Now if the new policy is implemented, means then there may be drop down cases in all these 3 levels, that is 5th, 8th and 11th. That is, the drop down cases may arise in the preliminary stages, that is 5th class itself, the drop down cases may arise. Is it so?
yeah, that's what I'm saying. The detention policy, as a document, in the document, they have not mentioned anything regarding the detention policy. If you are failing in 5th class, you will again sit in 5th class. No, I don't think so. And again, the testing, examination will not be a centralized testing. That is also maybe at 5th level, 5th year and 3rd year. So this is a very, again, I'm saying this is a very important aspect. We are to be, I think we should be, this issue might come up, and the different others also raising this issue. But in the document, they did not mention anything regarding this examination at different levels and detention levels. So they did not, in the document itself, it's not mentioned clearly. So they said the schooling system is 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. But yeah, that may be a very important issue, and that is going to be very serious issues because it will impact the students. But according to the Act, again, there is no detention policy, right? So free and compulsory education must be provided. So yeah.
Sir, there is now there are state board, central CBSE, IASC, several boards are there. If this policy came to effect, then everything will be coming as a streamline into a single board, or parallelly everything will be running.
No, now the curriculum, if central government is changing the curriculum, see, one thing is NEET. NEET exam is now pan-India. There is no there is no state level examination for medical field. IITs are pan-India, NITs are pan-India. when this kind of system, when the testing is coming up in the pan-India level, your curriculum, that means your state curriculum, should be on par with the central curriculum. That is what now 10+2 we are changing the syllabus and going with on par with NCRTs and NCRTs especially. So when the curriculum is changing at the national level, maybe when they are coming up with their own their curriculum, then the states are now the boards, state boards shall also change according to their curriculum. May not be any they not, by giving importance to the state level issues, they have to be I think develop their curriculums on par with center. But again, you are raising very important issue. That is now the states will have problems. See, now the history textbook, maybe the central government will have their own issues, their own curriculum, but the state government will have their own curriculum. So there will not be there will be some problem with these issues. So that is again the boards will be there because education is in concurrent list, right? So you cannot change. This is a policy. We cannot. This is not an act, or this is not an constitutional provision. So it's a policy. It's only a policy. So policy, when policy or when schemes are not on par with your constitutional provisions, then they will definitely in the court of law it will face the heat. So the policy will not be very. This policy maybe will not be very strict regarding these issues. So whatever you raised, these issues they will not be very rigid on these issues. So this is what I wanted to say. Maybe up to 4+3+3. Sorry, 4+3. They may go for the state governments will have the say. Whereas if you come to the higher education levels, especially when you are looking at physics, there will not be any problem with the sciences courses, physics, chemistry, biology, geology, or this will not be impacting much. But the problem comes when you are opting for the arts courses, then problem starts. So what kind of history you wanted to study? What kind of political system you want to study is a problematic area. So these are the issues will be addressed. Yeah.
Another thing, now the private colleges.
Sarvana,
Yes.
we'll restrict the questions to get the chances to other people. I'm so sorry. So it's already
if
3
there is
questions.
time permits, you give me a chance at the end of the session.
Yeah, we'll give you chance at the end if the time permits. You can lift the hand.
Okay, thanks for giving me this golden opportunity.
No problem, sir. Thank you. And Sivasuresh, it's your time. So I see you raised your hand. I'm unmuting you. You can go ahead and ask the question. Are you there, Sivasuresh?
Yeah, he's not there. Just now
Okay, he left that.
Yeah.
So, sir, we will take the questions from YouTube or chat box.
Sure.
Yes, sir. There is a question. Will it be the new policy will be applicable to private schools also?
Definitely, the schooling. See, private schools will not have the textbook and curriculum. Everything will be developed. That they should follow the private schools. So private schools also must follow the curriculum, right? When you are studying, if you are studying in a private school, you are not studying more like you are not studying something new than the state or the central government textbooks, right? So the entire policy is applicable to everyone. Private schools, private universities also will come under the regulatory frameworks. So that is there. It is also applicable.
Yeah, thank you, sir. The remaining questions also are already covered in the explanation.
Yeah.
So we are not going to take those questions. Now, Sham, are there any questions in YouTube chat box?
Yeah, there is a question, sir, from Raghavendra Raju on YouTube. What is the key role of professional courses in national education policy?
Hello.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can hear you, sir.
No, no. I am not there was some disturbance. What is? Yeah, I will just see. I'm seeing the YouTube. What is the professional courses in education policy? Right. That is the question, right?
Yes, sir.
So
Yes.
yeah, professional courses they are not specifically mentioning about professional courses and other the only certain parts, right? They are giving suggestions on different aspects. It's not they are, yeah, professional courses. They said multidisciplinary approach should be there for professional courses. If you are doing BTech technology, BTech is not only the BTech, but it should be something else also should be there along with that. So you can blend the different aspects and do maybe the technology and society, how the your technology will use for the society. So these are the things that will come under, right? So that is where they address the question, but not specifically. They did not mention anything specifically for the professional courses. So professional courses will be blended. That's what they say.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Again,
Next question
sir.
is Prashant. Yeah, Prashant, please unmute yourself and ask the question.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
Good evening, Ami.
Yeah, thank you for your, first of all, thank you for your valuable information. So, for example, actually, I'll take my example. Yeah, actually, I'm going to study degree final year. So, for example, if they implement this policy in this year, do we have to do masters according to new education policy or old education policy?
No, I so okay. See, there is no see, as of now there is no structural changes. So it will take some time. I think it will take some maybe some time for the implementation of it. So now whatever the now UGC is there, there is no scrapping of maybe there is no that national education, higher education regulatory framework is not in the place. It will take some 1 or 2 years. So it's not immediate. It will not be immediate. Maybe some universities may go next year, maybe 1 year MA program or something like that. But there is no guidelines. This is a policy, right? Policy will have certain guidelines how to do,
Yeah.
how to mention all these things. So it will take some time.
Yeah. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Again, Sarvana, I guess Baba S. That is Sarvana. Again, he raised your hand. I'm unmuting you.
Hello, sir. Can you
Yeah,
hear me?
yes.
Sir, if this if the policy came to effect means, then till it stabilize both the things, current educational policy and the new educational policy, both will run in parallel, or only new policy will come. Still, it stabilize.
No, that's what I'm saying. See, there is a phased manner for implementation. Understood? So it will take some time. See, now the school education, at one go, they cannot change entire the school education. They have to first come out to develop books, NCERT books. So they have to develop the curriculum. They have to develop the pedagogy. Then training should be given to the teachers. Then only they can implement that 5+3+3+2 formula, right? It's not. It's one go. If they are going, when your curriculum and pedagogy and training is not proper, what they will teach, what they will learn, students. So it's not under the infrastructure. There is no infrastructure, much infrastructure, right? If the one recommendation is all about technology and empowerment, all this technological implementation of technology, all these things, e-governance, all these things. It will not create within 1 or 2 days. So there will be a phased manner. They may go for in a phased manner, because first in school education develop curriculum, pedagogy, training, then implement, then go for maybe they may take some time. It's not immediate.
Okay, sir. Sir, what about in the case of B.Ed? As you told, normally for arts, science, something that is these things you told, professional courses. B.Ed is a that is the thing. After graduation, they will be going for B.Ed education courses. That is the thing. Here in this, as per this structure and policy, how the B.Ed will be treated.
Yeah, B.Ed, there is a special mention about the B.Ed in the document itself. So how the B.Ed will be, so see, the B.Ed courses will be playing very important role. So pedagogy, when your pedagogy is entire changing, then your course structure in the B.Ed will also change, right? So
Yes.
how the so they are they mentioned in the, I am not particular about B.Ed course, because
No,
they
like that.
mentioned they mentioned in the 2-3 paragraphs about the B.Ed course. I need to go back and look at it in particular. So I didn't like prepared much about it, but they do mention. You can also refer that document. I think in yeah, I think in teachers column in page number 21 of the document, 66 page, 21 page number 21. They have mentioned about teachers eligibility test. All these things will be strengthened to inculcate better test material, both in terms of content and pedagogy. So foundation, preparatory, middle, secondary. So they have mentioned certain aspects of this teachers education and service environment and culture, how teachers service environment will be there, continuous professional development of teachers, and career management and progression of teachers. So these are the different aspects they have mentioned about the teachers, teaching and the teachers. So you can just look at the level, how they have mentioned. So particularly B.Ed, I just got it. It's in 24 page. By 2030, the minimum degree qualification for teaching will be a 4-year integrated B.Ed degree that teaches a range of knowledge, content, and pedagogy, and includes strong practical training in the form of student teaching at local schools. The 2-year B.Ed program will also be offered by the same multidisciplinary institutions offering the 2-year B.Ed integrated B.Ed programs, and will be intended only for those who have already obtained the bachelor's degree in other specialized subjects. These B.Ed programs may also be suitable adapted as 1-year B.Ed programs, and will be offered only for those who have completed the equivalent of 4-year multidisciplinary bachelor's, that is bachelor sorry, bachelor's of honors, or who have completed masters. So if you complete masters, then they have this 1-year B.Ed. So there are changes in this, and also online distance learning, blended online distance learning also come up in the B.Ed. So that is
Okay.
where they mentioned in 24th page.
Yeah, so we'll take a next questions from the chat or YouTube comments. Sarona, we'll take your questions in the next if we have a time. Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay. Thanks.
So
Go ahead, Sham and Ganesh.
Srinath,
Mahesh.
I have another webinar at 5. So can we take 1 or 2 questions?
Yeah, sure. That's what
Yeah.
we are limiting the questions.
Yeah, excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Right now we don't have any questions on YouTube.
Yes.
So
And yeah, there are no questions in already covered. Most of the questions are covered in your explanation only. Now I request Mr. Ganesh to give the vote of thanks to all the participants as well as the speaker. Ganesh, go ahead.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Oh shit. Okay. Go ahead, Ganesh.
We
Sorry.
will take one question, last one.
One question from Rajaram.
Rajaram.
So Ganesh, we'll take your oath of thanks after these questions. There are one more guy.
Okay, take the question.
Yeah, Rajaram, unmuting you. You can go ahead and ask the question. I'm
Hello, good evening.
requested to unmute.
I have a question regarding scrapping of
this regulatory bodies like AICTE, Grants Commission, and Medical Council of India. So why this is needed at the hour, and how do they channelize through Ministry of Higher Education? So how exactly the central government is planning to implement all these things in one channel? So how they will channelize all these things?
Yeah, that's the major issue I was discussing. Scrapping of existing higher education regulatory institutions like UGC, AICTE, other regulatory bodies, and coming up with another regulatory body under which under the umbrella of Education Council of India. So that is where I am also critical. So that is the issue, whether they wanted to make it centralized and make it more bureaucratic, or whether they wanted to decentralize and give it to make the process speeder for approvals or any other things, and reduce the red tape. So that is what I'm also critical. The policy document itself says this scrapping of different this kinds of regulatory institutions is to increase the transparency and accountability, but that we need to wait for certain time. Maybe the entire structure, if you look at it, then only we can understand.
Thank
Okay,
you, sir.
I have one more question, and sorry for
We'll
that.
take we'll take a questions. Kiran Garu, can you input your email in the chat box? If you have any questions, we'll direct you to your email.
Sure.
And if you're fine, can we take last question from Srinivas Murthy?
Yeah, one second.
Yeah, Srinivas Murthy, go ahead. I'm just unmuting you.
Yeah, if anybody
Good
interested
evening,
to
sir.
know his number and email ID, we will provide you later.
Sir, good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening.
Sir, this is Srinivas Murthy from Bengaluru.
Okay.
Sir, my question is, this policy stopped to studying MPhil. Means MPhil has been cancelled in this policy. What is the reason, sir?
No, so this is this question is, see, MPhil normally in Western countries or any other universities, they don't have this MPhil program. So why we had we are having MPhil is to bridge the gap between master's program and PhD program. So when MPhil is there, you will have some research expertise, right? You will learn some research, and before entering into the PhD, you learn certain research capacities and then do it. But scrapping of MPhil is one point. These are very many students are rising. One, at master's levels only, there is a need to include research as an important component of your study. If you maybe the optional part, if you are interested in research, you need to go through some research, quantitative or qualitative research training, and do some small projects. So, and then you will have some research experience and go to PhD program. But scrapping of MPhil, it's only what government is saying. They wanted to remove this MPhil to actually reduce the timing for your PhD. Like if you take Germany, if you want, you can directly enter into the PhD after your masters and get your PhD degree in the within the period of 2 to 3 years. And there is no delay. There is no delay in process. But we do have a delay in the process. Like we do 2 years of MPhil and 6 years of PhD, 5 to 6 years of PhD. Some people may take so many years. So there is this option. So the government wanted to remove this PhD. Sorry, MPhil.
Yeah. So thank you, sir. Ganesh will be giving a closing remarks. So Ganesh, go ahead.
Yeah. First, thank you to one and all. So actually, new education policy, when it is introduced, so many people were confused. Like what are the education system and compare what will be the future of education system and compared to now, what are the changes going to be happen. Like so many people has also so many doubts. So I hope so many people has benefited through this session with the help of Mr. Kiran Garu. I'm very on behalf of entire team of DPWD. So we are very thankful to you for this brief session, which may solve the doubts of many people and understanding about national education policy. And also to all the members, thank you for joining here to know about education policy. So hope you got some knowledge, and don't forget to share with your friends also. So for your reference, this video is available in the Diksoochi for Persons with Disability YouTube channel. You can always come back if you have any doubts. And not only this session, like if you have still any doubts regarding this session, you can always mail to us, that is connect@dpwd.org, connect@dpwd.org. We will always try to answer you. So even we are available in the social media also. There also you can discuss. Feel free to post your queries there also. So, and finally, to all the members who have supported directly or indirectly by organizing this session successfully and sharing the information to reach many people. And I'm very thankful to Andal. Thank you.
So I have a final request, maybe request to everyone. Can everyone open their, start their video, sharing video? I can take some memory, maybe pick, screenshot pick.
Because go ahead. Possible, if whoever able to turn on the video, please go ahead and turn on.
Yeah. So, thank you so much.
Yeah, guys, kindly share your video. Just
that'll be great help.
Start with.
Yeah.
1 second, let me.
Just you can do that.
Where is this video? Where is the video?
Mr. Sham?
Yeah, Sham video is there.
Can you see my video?
Yeah, Sham's video is there.
Kiran Garu, can you see my video?
Trinath?
Yeah.
Yeah, Trinath, I'm able to see, but it's dark.
Okay, 1 second. 1 second, Kiran Garu.
What about mine?
Yeah, you are clear, Sai. After so many days, I'm seeing you.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you. You are in Vizag only?
Yeah, I'm in Vizag.
So next marriage only.
So Sham, we can stop streaming the YouTube.